So that brings us to Lab 6. This is precipitation and finding your limiting reactant. Okay, so step 1 of this is to find the quantity of moles that you have of each of these chemicals. So we've got 8 milliliters of, and I'm going to be writing this down, so 8 milliliters of 0.5 molar calcium chloride, and we've got 12 milliliters of 0.5 molar sodium phosphate. Okay, so how do we find the quantity of moles of these? Well, if we remember, molar is the same thing as moles per liter. So what you can do is just kind of like on the last problem, it's all about unit cancellations. Alright, so let's do some of this problem. So we've got 8 milliliters, which I would suggest you learn how to quickly convert between milliliters and liters. So remember, there's 1 liter, or there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So there are 0.008 liters in 8 milliliters. So we want to get to moles, so we are going to want to cancel out the liters. So if we have liters on top, this is always, you can put anything over 1. So then we're going to multiply this by moles per liter. So that's 0.5 moles per liter. So that will give us how many moles we have in this reaction. So since they're the same concentrations, it's clear to me that we are going to have 50% more of, it's basically in a ratio of 8 to 12 in terms of how many moles we have. So we are going to have to then look at, and people do this, everyone does this a little bit differently, but you are going to have to try to figure out which one, if either, is the limiting reagent. And in this case, since we've got 8 mils of calcium chloride and 12 mils of sodium phosphate, and we actually require more calcium chloride than sodium phosphate. So this is kind of like if you have, if you're trying to bake a pie and you've got, and each pie takes 3 bananas and 2 apples, and you've got basically 8 bananas and 12 apples. What is going to be the limiting reactant? If you are still confused, I know that wasn't a great explanation, but if you are still confused about this, please look into it more, as it is very important for the chem test, for the actual class, and for the lab practical. Okay, so calcium chloride is going to be our limiting reagent, so that is basically what we are going to be using throughout the rest of this calculation. So if we have 0.008 liters times over 1 times 0.5 moles per liter, if we do this calculation, we will find we have 0.0004 moles. Alright, and from this we can then basically just kind of like on the last problem go over like on this chapter or lab 5, it kind of goes over how to do that as well on page 37 right here. Like I said, you really need to learn how to do this, so make sure that you understand that for this practical. Okay, so we've got this many moles of our calcium chloride, and so we need to find out we need to find out the mass of calcium phosphate that can be formed. So we would basically have this 0.0004 moles and that's of calcium chloride, and all of that can be over 1, and multiply this by how many moles of calcium chloride we need to make 1 mole of calcium phosphate. So whatever we do, we're going to want calcium chloride on the bottom so that it cancels out, and calcium phosphate on the top. I'll just put CAP, and basically what that's going to allow us to happen is for moles of calcium chloride to cancel out with, I forgot to write moles, but with moles of calcium chloride on the bottom, and that way it leaves us with moles of calcium phosphate. So if we look back at our stoichiometry, we require 3, and we make just 1 of these guys. So if we go back here, we would have a 3 right here and a 1 up here, and that would be how you would set up how many moles you have, and I'll let you guys finish that problem. How many grams can you get from that? So you just need to basically multiply by the molar mass, which will be given in grams per mole, and you'll notice that that allows these moles to cancel and leaves us with grams of calcium phosphate. Okay.